I'd really like to thank the noble Baroness Verma, because actually she raises some of the issues that have prompted me to speak today, which I've had a slight change of heart or mind, or my mind has been changed, which is the reason I'm speaking, rather than I'm just going to repeat everything I've previously said. My concerns about these photo IDs have fairly consistently been that there's no evidence of voter impersonation, so it's not an issue. I don't like any move towards a show us your pass society. I worry about the unintended consequences of the government pushing this voter ID, that itself implies that there's a problem, that might then undermine trust in the democratic process. I particularly have raised before and echo the query that the noble Lord Willits made about what the consequences will be of people being turned away from the polling stations. Now, I'm not very good on paperwork, so I'm just the kind of person who gets it wrong, but I think we only have to look at the best intended interventions in Ukraine or in Poland are issuing visas to Ukrainian refugees to see that paperwork can go wrong. And I'm concerned about people turning up with the wrong thing, being sent away, only having that day to vote. That will imply to fellow citizens that there's something dodgy going on, that they're cheating rather than they just got the wrong piece of paper. What does the Minister advise in that instance? But I think probably, in following on from the noble Baroness Verma, the problem is that we've got to a point where the trust in democracy is already, that ship has sailed, that there's something gone wrong. A constant theme of commentary around elections, it seems to me at the present time, is that too many people seem to think it's impossible that their side lost, without implying that the other side had somehow won by cheating or the vote being manipulated. I've been quite shocked by the commentary around the vote in Hungary, in which it's been implied that the only basis on which Orban won was because something dodgy happened. It was unfair. That was said around Brexit, it was said around Trump's win, it was said around Biden's win. And so, in all those instances, there's been implicit or explicit accusations by losers that somehow cheating has happened. And that, therefore, I think there's a broader problem of the undermining of trust in democracy, which actually, I think, a lot of people in this chamber and outside it have created that's got nothing to do with voter ID. But then when I started to talk to people after I made my second amendment speech, after my committee speech, I was absolutely inundated with people who said they disagreed with my opposition to voter ID. Now, these weren't cut-and-paste emails that we all receive off everyone. They weren't organised lobby groups. They just appeared to be ordinary people, pundits. Loads of people contacted me, people I knew, I didn't know. I've had more correspondence on this than anything else. And why I'm telling you that is because I was surprised and taken aback. But when I then started talking to people, people said that because there is now such a big debate about trust in the democratic process, however that's happened, whatever the reason for that, that they want to actually have reassurance that the ballot box is secure. So actually people were saying that their motives were protecting the vote, a respect for democracy. I don't know that you could say that it's fake news that the government have just made up, that there's a discussion about this, because it seems to me there is a discussion about this. And I think that, I suppose in the name of transparency and being accountable and just trying to be honest, that's what has happened. And so I think when people are saying they want to shore up democracy through ID, I at least want to take some notice. The other thing that was said, which fits in very much with what the noble Lord Desai said, as well as the noble Lady Verma said, is they felt insulted with the idea that showing ID would put them off voting. And they said, you think we've got such a low view of democracy that we're so easily put off voting. The problem is that we go out to vote, and when we vote, people tell us that we voted the wrong way. That's our problem. But the idea that we're somehow going to be put off when we can go and do that when we want to pick up a parcel, and they go, look, for example. And so I think, therefore, having thought about it a lot, and I'm not still sure, that I am prepared to consider particularly some kind of compromise here, particularly Amendment 8, which I think does the job of saying, let's have some ID, or let's have as wide a range of IDs as we possibly can so that we don't have this turning people away at the ballot box problem. Also, I think it is important to recognise that whether we like it or not, there is a debate about how much we can trust the democratic process. And if there is a way of reassuring people, even though I wish that we hadn't got to that point, then maybe we should think about this. And therefore, I'd like to know what the Minister says about the dangers of undermining our trust in democracy by pushing this too hard. But is there a compromise the government can make that I think would actually satisfy, relatively speaking, all people? And even the noble Lord Woolley, as he said, very reluctantly might even go down that line, even though it kind of goes against what he really wants, which is to get rid of it altogether.